Hi everyone, and welcome to the Effective Teaching Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Jackson, and today we're looking at how to develop rapport in your classroom with your students. And this is episode 76. So if you haven't subscribed, click the button, subscribe to the podcast. And this week I'm giving away an infographic with this episode. So head over to teacherspd.net/76 and you can grab the infographic that'll have a few points on there about how to develop rapport with your students. The first point I want to make when it comes to developing rapport with students is to make sure that you are actually being yourself. Okay, don't put on a persona when you're in your classroom. Don't stand there like you have to be this dry teacher at the front. Allow yourself to be yourself. Stand there, just share your personality with your kids. Make jokes, get involved in just normal chatter, and talk to them about who you actually are and share stuff about yourself. So, let yourself have some fun with the kids. That whole point of being able to make a joke and laugh about it, not make the kid a joke, but make a joke or laugh at the kid's joke. That kind of stuff really goes a long way with your students. And make sure you're also sharing your other interests. So I would often talk to my kids, when I was at one point, I used to go to the gym all the time. I used to go twice a day at one point, 7 days a week. It was a bit intense. But I would then share that with my students, and I would make connections with the kids who were into, going to the gym and getting fit and healthy and getting strong. There was other times where I would share stuff around my love for gardening. And so I'm really into permaculture. I have a huge garden in my backyard that grows veggies. I've got goats, I've got chickens, I've got quails, I've got lots of fruit trees. I literally just bought a brand new block because my current block, which is 900 square meters, it is too full. I've run out of room to expand my garden. And so we are actually in the process of moving. We bought the block of land. We now have just over an acre to work on our garden over there to give our animals a bit more room and to create a much easier space, I guess, for us in terms of this permaculture life of managing gardens and that kind of stuff, and still having space for kids, etc., to run around and have fun. That's going to be a year process. I'll probably keep you up to date with that because I want to make sure I'm also sharing with you, stuff that's happening in my life as part of me developing rapport with you. So it's always something to share because there'll always be someone else in the class who also is interested in that kind of stuff. So, if I talk about gardening, there might be a kid in the class who also is interested in gardening. When I share things around my perspectives on health and how I view health, there'll be other kids who are interested in that because it's not quite the mainstream in terms of what my perspective is on what quality health really looks like. The next point is that you should smile a lot, okay? Smiling just releases endorphins. When people see smiles, they want to smile back. And that naturally just sends this chemical message through your body and through the kid's body that you're a friend, that you're actually someone who is friendly and kind. And the more that you can be friendly, the easier it is to develop rapport with your students. And so having a good smile, it doesn't have to be a good smile, but being smiley, right, will draw people to you. And this will work even just in your business life when you're working with colleagues and stuff. If you are smiling when you're talking to them, it shows that you're happy. It shows that you are someone who cares about them and those kinds of things. And also here, make sure you're being really friendly, right? So you want to show an interest in your students. Ask them questions about life outside of school. Get to know them really well and care about what they actually say back to you. Make sure you're listening to that. And when you can, try and ask them a question about something that they shared with you the week before or something. So, a student may have said, this weekend we're going away on holiday down to, Jervis Bay. And so the next time that you see them, you can say, hey, how was your trip to Jervis Bay? And that shows that you're interested in them, that you care about them. And that is really a great way to start to develop rapport, especially if you're doing that with a smile and that you are showing your friendly side. Other ways to be friendly are to help them when they need it. So if you see, maybe their ball's rolled off from their handball game, pick it up or run over and grab it, chuck it back to them. If they're struggling to carry something or they're moving something around, or even if they just drop their pen in your class as you walk past, pick it up and give it to them with a smile and be friendly. and move on. So just simple things like that can really impact a student's day, because there's lots of memes that go around about how a teacher smiling at a student may be the only smile that student sees all day. And as much as I hate that is true, I know that for some students it is. So please be that person who smiles at the student, who says hello, and who remembers their name. That is really important. The other thing that I want to tell you to do, and this is really something to not do, and it's something that took me a while not to do, is to avoid using sarcasm in your classroom, or even when you're talking with kids in general. Sarcasm tends to be a higher order process for making jokes, and often sarcasm comes at the expense of someone, and you don't want it to be interpreted the wrong way or taken the wrong way or to offend someone. And I know that as I went through, I offended lots of people. I know my wife really hated my sarcasm when we first started going out, and whenever it does come out of me, she always says, "Oh, stop it." So yeah, she really hates it, and I've seen it happen to my students as well, when I've been sarcastic in my classroom. The kids didn't read it as sarcasm or didn't quite get it, and then it just falls in a heap and you end up offending someone. So just don't use it at all, and that will help to make sure that you don't accidentally offend a student in your classroom. My third key point in this episode is for you to engage with students outside of class time. Now, it's important that you engage with them in your class, so I don't want you to neglect that at all. But when you are outside of class, make an effort to get to know your students then as well. And so ways to do this are that you could volunteer to run a lunch group. Heck, pick something that you're interested in. Okay, maybe you're really into board games, and so you could run a board game club at lunch. Just bring your board games into school, or get the school to buy a couple of board games and have kids come in and play board games together during lunch. And it's a way for you to interact with them, for you to be playing with them. Talk to students at lunch and recess, particularly like if you're out on duty and walking around, say hello to the kids as you go past, by name, even if you can. And I actually would often use times, particularly like during exams and stuff, to test myself to see how many names I could remember. It's super important that you remember a student's name if you're trying to develop rapport with them. So get to know them during recess, chat to them, play games with them if you can, whether that be sports games or just, if they're mucking around playing a game and they try and include you, if it's possible, join in, right? You're not going to do any harm, okay? But if you're on duty, make sure you're doing your duty. Obviously, you can't just join in to play with them the whole time, but you could maybe do it for 30 seconds and just make a joke and then keep walking. And that helps to show the students that you care, you're interested, but they generally understand that you also have other things that you have to get done. You can also volunteer to coach their sports team, or to be involved in the debate team for something at your school. You can get involved in musicals to get to know your students. You can even inquire just generally into their life outside of school. You want to engage with them outside of school. Heck, if you run into a student at the shopping centre, don't avoid them. Okay, don't embarrass them, but don't avoid them. Okay, so if you walk past and you see them and you make eye contact, just smile, say hello, and keep moving. If it's a student who particularly likes you and they come over to say hello, you're in for a good chat. Okay, but do that because it's important for students to know that you care about them and that you're interested in their life, and it will have a great impact in terms of what you do in your classroom and the learning that the student has. But even more important than that, it will have a great impact on their life, because you become a person who they can come to, who they might see as a mentor. That might be the person that they know will care if they come and share something that's super important. And you could be that person who has a great impact on them just by doing these simple things. The last point I want to encourage you to do, and don't go over the top with this one, but I do want you to flatter them. I want you to compliment your students as often as you can. Anytime you notice something that you could compliment them. Okay, be the person who encourages them and who gives them positive things to say. Now, I do want to limit this. Okay, you do not want to compliment your students in the terms of how they look. No matter what sex they are or what gender or whatever, you don't want to compliment them on their looks. Okay, what you want to compliment them on are things like their effort or their kindness, their talents, the skills that they have. Anything other than how they look. Okay, if anything, if you want to comment on, like if let's say it's a muffy day or something and someone's got a particularly good outfit, you can comment on the wonderful outfit they're wearing and how it all matches or something, but don't comment and say, oh, you look beautiful today, or that looks amazing, okay? Say your dress looks really good, it matches your shoes, okay? And that's you commenting on the clothes, and you're not commenting on the student themselves, because it can get you into a lot of trouble if you do that. Well, let's summarize what we've said so far in this episode. So number one, let your personality shine. Be yourself with your students and with the students at your school. Smile as much as you possibly can. Engage with your students any chance that you get, particularly using their name, and make sure that you flatter them in a positive way that builds them up. Be the person who encourages them. Well, that is it for this episode. I really want to encourage you to click the subscribe button, come back and get the next episode. If you were interested in grabbing the infographic for this episode, come over to teacherspd.net/76 and you can grab that infographic. And I hope that you'll come back and join me next week when I'm going to be linking my love for gardening to my love for education. I hope to catch you then.